Get on down with your bass up. Get on down. Listen to the sound. Come on.
Ghost Riot
Radio.
Nick.
The ghost. The ghost himself.
I'm the ghost with the most, babe.
Nicky.
Bring the ghost.
This one seems to have ghostliness all its own.
Are you a ghost too?
Nick.
It's not stupid, Barbara. We're ghosts.
The only spirits left will be in bottles.
If you can produce ghosts,
Nobody scoffs at ghosts anymore. Apparently, the average ghost is quite reasonable.
They could be exposing themselves, and you don't want us exposing ourselves.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a very special episode of Ghost Riot Radio, the 18 and over podcast designed for free-thinking adults just like yourself, currently being recorded in medical marijuana, Florida. I couldn't be more excited right now. Today is November 8th, 2016, and Florida just passed Amendment 2, which now totally makes us the first southern state to pass fully medical marijuana. I couldn't be more excited. So that being said, obviously we have a whole election going on here and people are focusing pretty heavy on that stuff, but I went ahead and got excited. So I'm telling everybody right now that we are live on Facebook right now to talk a little bit about what it means now that we are fully medicinal in the state of Florida. First of all, let me talk to you about my whole stance on the whole thing. And it looks like at 70.9%, the majority of the state of Florida as well. Compassionate care is a really serious thing. It definitely is something that we shouldn't ever, like, when it comes to people's pain and suffering, we should do literally everything that we can in order to alleviate that. Not passing yet Amendment 2 would have been just ridiculous, quite honestly. So this is a really exciting thing for us. Most people don't actually know that, of course, medical marijuana was a thing here in Florida, but you had to have, unfortunately, some pretty serious ailments in order to qualify at all. And it wasn't really public because it doesn't affect the majority of the state. However, now with the passing of Amendment 2, the list of, I hate to say qualifications because that sucks, but the list of illnesses or ailments that you may have is now extended a bit, and it now brings it into more of a normal medicine realm, which is pretty awesome. So super excited. Basically what this means now is that the state of Florida, I don't really know exactly what the rules are as far as when this will officially go into effect, but as of right now, we have officially passed. So basically there used to be Article X, Section 29 was an existing amendment, but we just amended that, obviously. And so now we've changed some of the rules as far as public policy is concerned, as far as medical marijuana production, possession, and use. So obviously this is a little bit different than what I would normally do on a regular episode, but I just want people to be able to ask some questions. Let's talk about what's going on. It gives us something to be distracted from this regular election from for a little while, so I think it's a good option to have. While we're waiting, if you're joining me now on my personal Facebook page, do me a favor, go over to Ghost Riot Radio on Facebook, hit like, and then join the conversation there. If you haven't already liked the Ghost Riot Radio page on Facebook, I would appreciate it if you'd go over and hit like. Once you're there, what's up, Brad? Once you're over there, go ahead and join the live session there on Ghost Riot Radio on Facebook. And that way I can actually see your comments here on my computer screen as opposed to trying to read them off this tiny little phone of mine. Anyway, so let's go back to my excitement because I couldn't be happier right now. If you don't know and you're just joining here on Facebook Live, Florida just passed Amendment 2. Super stoked about it. We are now officially the first southern state to go fully medicinal marijuana. It's just, it's a really awesome thing. I'm pretty excited about it. But I wanted to talk to people about what exactly that means and how it can benefit you if you're a Florida resident. First of all, if let's go over that real quick. If you are living in Florida and you want to know how you can find out if you have something that may qualify you for medicinal cannabis, go to, and these guys haven't paid me, it's just the way I did it, and I'm all about them, so I'm going to pass this knowledge on to you. And if you talk to them, tell them I sent you. I don't know what that'll do, but do it anyway. Go to www.docmj.com. Take a quick survey with DocMJ, and they will we're going to talk about that. And they'll tell you whether or not you have a qualifying ailment. And then what they'll do is set up an appointment for you, which you can basically do from your home. You don't have to do anything other than have a webcam set up. So if you have a computer with a webcam, they will do an online assessment for you, basically. And that basically starts the process. So go ahead and get that started. DocMJ.com. See if you qualify. Can't hurt to try it. So definitely go check them out. So let's talk, because I've already got a lot of people going, woohoo, yay, congratulations. But then Jeremy is not sharing in the enthusiasm. He says he's very happy more people will benefit, but once again, it's too limited and too restricted. I'm going to disagree, actually. Part of what most people don't recognize is that Florida was already had a few dispensaries going on, and there were patients in the state that were already receiving that benefit. However, that was very limited at the time. If we look back at old stuff, things like the list was only about 7 available conditions: glaucoma, cancer, HIV, AIDS, Parkinson's disease, Crohn's disease, hepatitis, and multiple sclerosis were it. Florida wasn't touching any of that stuff otherwise. The reason that we passed this Amendment 2, was literally to amend the original rule, obviously the original laws here in Florida. We are now full medical marijuana, and what's actually stated now in the amendment says that obviously debilitating medical condition is what it covers, right? So what that means in layman's terms is cancer, epilepsy, glaucoma, positive status for HIV, AIDS, post-traumatic stress disorder, which is now added to it. I think that's fantastic. ALS, which is basically amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. I don't know if I said that right, but that's right. Crohn's disease, Parkinson's disease, multiple sclerosis, or other debilitating medical conditions of the same kind or class as comparable to those enumerated, and for which a physician believes that the medical use of marijuana could likely outweigh the potential health risks for a patient, which means it's now up to your physician as to whether or not they're going to prescribe that to you based on your ailments. So really kind of awesome. Yeah, totally. Yeah. +1 Florida. I love it. So we're all super stoked. What this means now is that if you are somebody who suffers from anxiety, depression, stomach disorders, eating disorders, all of those things may qualify you. And I'm really sorry if that's the case, by the way. I feel like I'm making a lot of light out of this, like, oh, it's time to be sick. But I just think it's really exciting that we're talking about, the whole idea here is compassionate care. And so the fact that we can now offer these people another outlet instead of pharmaceutical drugs. Sorry, I'm reading Jeremy's comments right now. It's a step forward. I'm happy for that, but I won't be excited till it's fully legal. Yeah, so here's the deal. We talked, so what are the possible restrictions to access, possible future personal growing? Okay, so Richard just popped on and wants to know about the possible restrictions to access, future personal growing, and potency and dispensaries that it will currently provide. So right now we're in a gray area, and that's going to be, it's a slow start, but we're here, right? So right now there's already a few dispensaries. What we're going to see soon within the next, I would say, and just to guess, in the next year, we're going to see multiple dispensaries popping up. There will definitely be more physicians who are offering the opportunity to prescribe medicinal cannabis. Again, I'm telling everybody to go to docmj.com, find out if those guys can help you out. They have a quick survey online, and then they'll end up hitting you up. You do a video conference call, and agreed. Louis said the same thing. It is a step in the right direction. Restrictions to access. It's still going to be, it's not like you can get it for, hangnails, right? So you can't go in and go, oh, I've got a boo-boo and get prescribed cannabis. But this new amendment has now alleviated some of the heavier restrictions on that, which is great. Let's see what it says here about growing, because caregiver. Okay, so medical use means the acquisition, possession, use, delivery, transfer, or admission of an amount of marijuana not in conflict with department rules of a related supplies by a qualifying patient or caregiver for the use by the caregiver's designated qualifying patient for the treatment of debilitating. You gotta love legal crap. I need Sarah on here right now to help me figure out what all this means. But basically, they have to define words like caregiver, physician. They now have written in that a physician is not allowed to be subject to criminal or civil liability or sanctions under Florida law solely for issuing a physician certification with reasonable care. So your doctor is going to be less inclined to be nervous about whether or not they can do that for you. So that's a fantastic option. The next thing we talk about is you're going to need your identification card. Actions and conduct by a medical marijuana treatment center registered with the department or its agents or employees in compliance with this section shall not be subject to criminal or civil liability under Florida law. Again, we're only talking by the state. And so if you haven't, even Colorado right now, Colorado just had like a $10 million federal pot bust on a legal dispensary or a legal grow. It's still a gray area, guys. We are not federally legal. The war on drugs is still a real thing, which is what Jeremy's talking about. So it's still, the laws are crossed. Here's what we really want to have happen. Even though, yeah, we're stoked for Florida, what we need to have happen is the other 7 states that are currently voting on a positive move towards medical cannabis, or what's up with that? Did you all get disconnected? Boom. There we go. Okay, we're back. Everybody's cool. There needs to be regulation, but it's more backdoor deals to select a few. Yeah. Well, so none of that is clear yet, right? As long as it remains a federal law, banks won't touch you as a dispensary. So if you're thinking, oh, I can't wait to go open a dispensary, A, it's dangerous. B, banks will not touch you. So they have to handle everything in cash, which is a really scary thing to do. So as an owner, make sure that you put security in place if you're thinking you want to open a dispensary in Florida or anywhere in the country for that matter, because all it means is, A, you've got cannabis on site and you've got wads of cash on site. It's a really interesting and very shady business to be in right now, not because of the product, but just because of the law. So that's kind of a bummer. Louis, you think that Amendment 2 was just for Charlotte's Web? So there's been a lot of talk about that. If you don't know what Charlotte's Web is a strain of cannabis that was created with low THC and high CBD content. If you don't know what that is, CBD, basically the plant makes 2 active compounds, chemicals. THC, which is the one we all know and love, because that's the one that you were hanging out with in high school, and that's pretty awesome. But CBD is the healing property. Both have healing properties, but CBD is the one that we're really after, especially when it comes to things like children, seizures, cancer-fighting benefits. All of that stuff is a product of what the CBD can do for you. And so what they're doing is actually making strains of cannabis that are actually low in THC, which means less stony, right? Like you're not getting those stony feelings, but you are getting the benefit of the CBD part of the plant. Charlotte's Web was one of the initial strains that was created for a girl named Charlotte who had like heavy seizures. She was like a super small, 3 or 4 years old, I think, if I'm right. And the poor kid was just like seizures 12 times, 20 times a day. Just, it was living a terrible life. They made this low CBD or this low THC, high CBD strain for her. And sure enough, she no longer has those things. She now lives a fairly normal life as a child, and that's awesome. So that's the kind of stuff that we're talking about here. And we're not talking about now you can go buy an ounce of weed and go hang out with your boys on the corner and get baked. If we're getting low THC but high CBD products, we're talking about medicine right now. We're not talking about full legalization. We're not talking about, this is not a party. It doesn't mean all of a sudden that, every 420 is going to be a giant smoke out anymore. It just means that we now are offering it as a medical option for people who need it, which is a huge thing. Whether or not you think it should be legalized completely is not the question, and it's awesome that 70% of the voters here in Florida decided that that was enough for them. They understood that compassionate care was what we were talking about. We can deal later with whether or not we think this prohibition stuff should be over with or not. Thank you, Jimmy. I appreciate it. So let's look into some of these laws a little bit. Let's look into this amendment a little bit further and see if we can find out anything about growing. I think that you still are not allowed to grow anything at the moment. Medical marijuana treatment centers, caregiver, physicians, qualifying patients. Nothing in this section shall affect or repeal laws relating to non-medical use, possession, production, or sale of marijuana. So just because it's now a medicinal option for people, you can't just like start telling people, oh yeah, it's my medicine, I grow it. If you don't have prescription, an identification card that says that you are a medical marijuana patient, you're going to get popped. And you can still get popped anyway, even as a patient, because it's still federally illegal. Yeah. So where these dispensaries can get their grows from or get their strains from is still pretty limited. It's definitely going to be, it's a cool thing. It's a very liberating thing, especially for a state like Florida. You should be excited if you're a Florida resident, but you shouldn't go running off the deep end yet. It doesn't mean that all of a sudden we should just celebrate. It just means that we're talking about compassionate care again. So this is huge for people. It's all about being able to end somebody's suffering, in my opinion. Whether or not you choose to use cannabis privately to, sub out, whether you'd rather not drink, you'd rather smoke a joint, that's totally on you. Unfortunately, you have to keep doing it illegally for a little while. But if you're somebody like one of our soldiers who comes back from being in war and then ends up with a PTSD syndrome of some sort, that stuff has been time and time again. Marijuana has been something that has dealt with that time and time again. These guys are actually, people who are risking their lives for our country, then come back and have all these terrible issues. And this is something that we can help them alleviate those things with. That's a win for me. People who have MS, which seems to be such a mysterious thing right now. I have an uncle with MS. God bless him. He's an awesome dude. He's doing pretty well, I think. But it's one of those things that seems like a mystery when you end up with a couple of illnesses or a couple of ailments that don't really make sense. It seems like they kind of bunch everybody into this multiple sclerosis idea. And again, it's a great way to treat things like that because, medical science is still sort of a science, right? They're getting things figured out still. I can't research while watching you on my phone, but PTSD is, yeah. So I just read that in here. So it is one on the list. Guidelines and history are allowed to grow. Right, exactly. That's exactly right. Marijuana has the meaning given cannabis in section blah, blah, blah. And in addition, low THC cannabis, as defined in, shall also be included in the meaning of the term marijuana. So, it doesn't say that it's specifically just that. The old stuff was. So when we were looking at just the Charlotte's Web bill, when certain Florida residents were in the past able to get cannabis, the Charlotte's Web bill was part of that, which means that they just were getting low THC products. So they were getting the benefit of the plant from the CBD, but it wasn't something that was going to make them super stoned, right? Because now we know, especially now that, states, before any state in the country was legal or trying to legalize anything, growers were already trying to do everything they could with the plant to maximize THC output. You would find that if you looked anywhere online, you can find pictures of the plant where it just looks like it's been snowing for a little while, just covered in crystal. That is your THC. That's the active ingredient that when inhaled or eaten or whatever, that's the ingredient that then that makes you all have a good time. But there's another part of that, the CBD, which can be extracted into oils and things like that, made into tinctures, can be baked into things that then creates that benefit for patients that is just outrageous. And it's so amazing that we're finally understanding that that's a benefit for people. Sorry, I'm waving my hands in front of in front of you guys. I forget you're there. So I'm so excited. It's so awesome that we've got. I was a little bit nervous. I'm not going to lie. We voted last year to try to pass a medicinal cannabis amendment, and it didn't make it. We were at something like 52% or something like that, but there's some weird law that says that you have to pass by a majority of an extra 5%, something like that, which is something crazy. So it didn't pass, even though the majority of the state voted yes. So this year, people pushed extra hard. There was an organization out in Orlando called United for Care. You can check them out at unitedforcare.org, which is actually the website that I'm giving you this information from right now. Those guys have been pushing super hard. I think I got like 7 emails a day on them. And people were donating, and they were going out and really pounding the streets, letting people know. In fact, the church that I voted at today only had one sign about Amendment 2, and it was no. It was like, vote no on 2, but apparently 70% of us did not listen, which is fantastic. Does anybody else have 60? No, I got 70.9. 70.9% is what I've got here. Anyway, it doesn't matter. We passed. It's an awesome day. I don't see any further questions, so let's see what I got here. Jeremy's chatty today. I like it. Thank you, brother. So what else did we talk about? Richard was asking more about potency for dispensaries. So it doesn't specify. There's already those low THC strains out there. It sounds like we're now going to have more options as far as what is available in a dispensary. As for specific potencies, I don't see any of that yet, and I'm sure that'll have to get worked out now that we've passed this amendment. But let's see. And you were also asking about growing. So it doesn't specifically say anything about whether or not caregivers. A caregiver means a person who is at least 21, who is 21 years old and has agreed to assist with a qualifying patient's medical use of marijuana and has qualified for and obtained a caregiver identification card issued by the department. Okay, so here we go. This could be cool. The department may limit the number of qualifying patients a caregiver may assist at one time and the number of caregivers that a qualifying patient may have at one time. Caregivers are prohibited from consuming marijuana obtained for medical use by the qualifying patient. Good luck. So basically that means if you get yourself approved as a caregiver, issued by, it just says the department. I don't know what department that means. Department of Health. Then you can become a caregiver. As for what that means or how many plants you can have, I'm still looking, but I don't see anything immediately. In order to allow the department sufficient time after passage of this section, the following regulations shall be no later than 6 months after the effective date of this section. Okay, so it's coming. Even now, we have to wait a little while. But again, if you're still wondering whether or not you qualify for a medicinal cannabis card here in Florida, go to docmj, docmj.com, and take the quick little survey. See what they can do. They'll give you a call. It's all free to get started. Once you do decide to go with their program, there's a $15 a month charge. It's better than a copay that you would pay if you had really good insurance right now. So $15 a month is no biggie. You will eventually have to go to a location and have a physical and have them really assess your situation. You can't just be like, oh yeah, you can't just go in and make up something that you have. You have to be able to prove it. They're going to do some assessment for you. But if you do end up qualifying, you will eventually get your card. But it does take 3 months, so you might as well start the process right now. 60% was needed. Oh, I see what you're saying. Got it. 60% was needed. Cool. So, hi, everybody. If you're just joining, we are just talking about the passing of Amendment 2 in Florida, which now makes us the first southern state to pass medical marijuana, which is pretty darn awesome. Boom, 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 boom. So I don't see any other questions, so I'm going to keep reading through some of this and figure out if there's anything else that's really interesting in this. Let's see. A regulation that defines the amount of marijuana that could reasonably be presumed to be an adequate supply for qualifying patients based on the presumption as to qualify may overcome with evidence, particularly. So it doesn't even specify what that amount is yet. They're still working on it. Basically, it means if it passes, basically what all this says is if it passes, they then have to sit down and discuss what the maximum amount is for a patient to be able to carry on them at one time. The number of plants a caregiver is going to be able to provide or grow in their property. And again, don't forget, folks, that even though all of this is awesome, it still means that it still doesn't mean that it's completely legal, right? So the federal law still says no, it's an illegal substance, which is right up there with heroin and lots of other stuff. It's actually still rated higher than meth, which Florida is no stranger to. So that's a bummer. But hopefully that'll change. What we're hoping right now is that there are still 7 other states on the bill tonight to possibly pass some sort of pro-cannabis law of some sort, whether it be full legalization or medical cannabis. And if that happens, we're then looking at a fifth of the state that is abiding by state rules that say that cannabis is okay. At that point, the federal government does not have a choice but to start to change things. A fifth of the country is basically breaking the law when it comes to federal drug law. Things are going to have to change. And that came right from the mouth of Obama. If you haven't seen I'll try to find that, the interview where he mentioned that, but maybe famous last words. We'll see what happens. But that was the deal. Hey, is there a list of posted medical problems that will be approved under the new law? Yeah, Haven, if you go to the website that I'm on right now is called unitedforcare.org, which is actually the heavy backer for Yes on 2 when everybody was trying to promote that stuff before we had the vote today. So go in there, and it actually says, I'm going to read it one more time just because I know we've got some new people listening here. Basically, it says that, I'm going to read it again real quick. The Department of Health does not immunize. What? Okay, cool. So basically what it says is that it is up to your physician to decide whether or not you have a debilitating medical condition now. The original list was glaucoma, cancer, HIV/AIDS, Parkinson's disease, Crohn's disease, hepatitis, or MS, multiple sclerosis. It is now those things plus PTSD, Parkinson's disease, multiple sclerosis, PTSD, and then any debilitating medical condition of the same kind or class or comparable to those enumerated, which means mentioned above, and for which a physician believes that the medical use of marijuana would likely outweigh the potential health risks for a patient. Which, by the way, does anybody who's watching right now think that there are any health risks to marijuana consumption? I will wait. If you believe, I think the biggest concern that I heard in this state was people were concerned that kids was going to be a problem. Because obviously people are manufacturing edible options for people who don't want to ingest smoke or vaporize their product, or are looking for a way. A lot of patients right now have problems with being able to stomach things, which is why being able to smoke or vaporize your medicine is an awesome option. But people don't want to smoke either, right? There are patients who don't want to smoke but still want to be able to have their medicine. So being able to consume that by eating it is an awesome thing. Now, if you could make it into candies and brownies and stuff like that, the reason it is those products is because baked goods are really easy to use things like butters and oils in order to be able to consume your product. They are now infusing oils, that's cooking oils and things like that, which you can make your regular dinner with, but you're going to not get the same effect. It's going to be a slightly lighter effect than if you ended up taking a concentrated dose in a brownie or a piece of candy. But that all makes perfect sense if you think about the manufacturing and how that process works. If you're somebody who doesn't know and has been lied to by the government about this whole war on drugs and the effects of pot, then you probably think that they're designing these candies and edible products to design it for kids. But A, it's not. nobody's going to hand a $20 brownie to a child on purpose. Most people don't want their kids to be, like nobody's trying to get your kids stoned. The idea is that we're trying to find easier ways to medicate patients. Right. So Jeremy's saying, so it's under the interpretation of the doctor. Hopefully doctors will step out of the past. So what's cool about what Jeremy's saying is that because of this new amendment, doctors are totally free of being tried by the state at all. So the state's not going to interfere if they are now clear to prescribe to anybody that they feel is in need of medical marijuana, which is awesome. It's amazing so many people with lupus need it and use it. Yeah, it's crazy. So basically it says a physician believes that medical use of marijuana would likely outweigh the potential health risks for a patient. Huge, which means things like anxiety, depression, dietary stuff like, if Crohn's disease was already on the list, now digestive issues may be a possibility. Again, if you want to know for sure whether or not something that you have might qualify you for medical marijuana, go to, and again, they're not paying me to say this, go to DocMJ, DocMJ.com. It's a Florida-based service. They'll actually have a little survey. You take the survey, they'll let you know whether or not you qualify, and from there you can go on and if it looks like you qualify for something, they will then set up a quick little video conference between you and a doctor. If that person thinks that you then qualify to continue, you will then pay your first $15, and they set you up for an appointment, which ends up being like a month or two out. And you're going to pay a $15 a month fee, but it's basically like seeing your doctor once a month. You have to be, by Florida law, you have to be with a physician for 3 months for them to be considered like your caregiver. And so that's why you want to start now. You want to make sure that you get started with them. $15 a month is less than most people's copay on their insurance, so you shouldn't be freaking out about that $15 a month charge. But this means that now, if you do qualify, that you can get care. It's going to take 3 months at minimum. And there's something written into the amendment now that says that they have up to 6 months basically to make all this stuff happen. So it's going to take a little while, but you might as well start your process now. If you're just joining us and you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm super stoked on this Yes on 2. We just passed Florida medical marijuana, which is super great. Because we're the first state in the South to do it, which I never thought Florida would ever be first. I thought we'd be one of the last ones right there with Virginia. Sorry if you're in Virginia and you're joining us. That's a bummer, but Virginia's going to be last. It stinks. Let's take a look real quick on election coverage here. We still don't have any answers yet, but it looks like things are, what's it say? 4,000. They're not giving me anything right now. So I'm going back and forth. Again, oh, geez. Never mind. I don't want to look at that anymore. Let's go back to talking about happy stuff. Florida has passed Amendment 2, which means that medical marijuana is now something that is offered to people who need it here in Florida. What a huge thing that is for us. I'm going to take a quick break. I'm actually going to play a track that I played on the first episode. This is a local cat named Knowledge Austin, but I figured I should play local music on a day like this to celebrate some stuff. This is Knowledge Austin and his track called Changes.
Changes in my mind and I refuse to co-sign. When I rhyme, pick the chime, no ultimatum, hit the stick shift. Now let's grind. Cowards running cross town with a plastic crown. That's till I shut it down. Like that new jack, jumping like a 6'4", cruising like a Cadillac, represent that hip so love, that's my memo. I don't think y'all got it, I just put the track on mute so y'all can hand me all my bars back. Matter of fact, just bring it back, collecting stipends with independent assassins. When we ride the Sarasota anthems in the Phantom. What's up? Nike kicks with the heel talking ice cream on my jeans and a collar shirt, yeah, them caps hurt. 12 pants, money dance, dreadlocks when the bass rock, I'ma ride out. Middle of the crowd, just vibe out, don't hide now, that's changes. From afros to twists, yeah, I say this. I probably see more changes than CJ from San Andreas. When the banging gets initiating, the perfect time to say it, please, to a cross, no contemplating. Iced out, pinky rings with the stones on them, flex on them, backdrop, whip on them when they get reckless, drop all them changes. I've been there like cold world, I feel you in this cold world. Change my mind, what that cosign?
So good. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're just joining us now, this is an extra special episode of Ghost Riot Radio. Normally we do this every Sunday, but today is November 8th, 2016. It is Election Day, and Florida just passed on Amendment 2 with 70.9%. We now have the title of the first southern state to pass medical marijuana in the country. That's pretty awesome. So I am going Facebook Live today, talking to people, seeing who's got questions about stuff. It's not the same crowd I got earlier when I first went on Facebook, but it's because most people that follow me don't actually live in Florida anyway. So Florida residents, if you are on right now and you have questions about what's going on with the S-on-2 and this new amendment, hit me up on Facebook. Let me know what's up. I'm going to wait another couple of minutes. If I don't see any new questions, we're going to go ahead and cut this short because I don't want to make this just me rambling about the same stuff. But if you are just joining us right now, thank you for joining us. Thanks for your congratulations. Anybody who is a Florida resident, thank you for going out and voting yes on 2. This new amendment means that we are now able to give compassionate care to people who need it here in the state of Florida. That's just the most awesome thing ever. Hopefully, there will be some taxes and things like that involved. So hopefully it'll be a benefit to the state. The state will start to realize that things are coming up when it comes to cannabis use. And this may be able to sway things in the right direction in the upcoming year. So it's a really awesome start so far. Again, if you're following me on my normal Facebook page, go to Ghost Riot Radio on Facebook. It is a page that I've started. Do me a favor and like the page for me, and then watch this feed on that every week. You can watch it every Sunday. We do every show live every Sunday on Facebook Live from the Ghost Riot Radio page, and you can be a part of every conversation that we have here on this radio show just by watching us live on Facebook. You will never be able to hear the music, or if I have a guest who's coming in through Skype, you won't be able to hear them. You will be able to interact, though, and I can read questions back and forth, but it works for two ways. It works two ways. One, it allows you to talk to me during the show, but it also forces you to then subscribe to me on SoundCloud or iTunes or check it out on YouTube, and make sure you hit the follow button and like all those videos for me because all that stuff definitely helps. Sorry, Ron, everybody but you do whatever you want. If you are an iTunes user and you listen to podcasts, one of the ways you can benefit me would be to go on to iTunes and actually leave me a little review about the show, which would be kind of awesome. Any of those things, any feedback that anybody has right now. I got a call from one of the guys who's one of the sponsors here on the show, and he said that he got some feedback from some cats back home. So I can't wait to hear what's going on with them. Anything that we can do to improve this show, I definitely want to hear. So if you think I suck, or I need to cover more stuff, or you don't like the format and you think the format could change in a better way, let me know. Put those things in the comments. Shoot me a message. I'd be more than happy to hear about it. Anything that I can do to mold this into like a show that people would be entertained by would be awesome. Right now, we're just entertaining ourselves, which is pretty great. So again, if you're joining me on my own personal page, go ahead and go to that search bar and put in Ghost Riot Radio, hit the like button, and then follow me on the Facebook live feed on that channel, and that way that I can actually see you while I'm talking to you here, because right now I can't have them both open and be clicking back and forth all the time. So sneak on over to Ghost Riot Radio if you're watching me on Facebook right now, hit like, and then go ahead and pick up the feed from right there, and then I can see everything that you say to me, which would be awesome. Again, this show is all about Yes on 2. Florida just passed the Amendment 2, which means that we are now the first southern state to pass medical marijuana in the country, which is pretty darn cool. So I've been all about it all morning. I got on this morning and went live and gave everybody a pretty nasty story about what's going on with me right now. If you don't know, I've had 17 shoulder dislocations since 2001, which is pretty gnarly. The darn thing doesn't stay in at all anymore, and it hurts like crazy. So about a month ago, I went ahead and decided to have surgery on the shoulder, and now I have more pain in a different way. So, of course, as any patient would, I've been prescribed oxycodone, better known as Percocet, in order to alleviate my pain. And actually, I've even been instructed to take a Percocet before every physical therapy session so that it helps loosen me up. But that's 3 times a week. So that means that I'm taking Percocet 3 times a week. And I don't like the stuff at all. It makes me feel sick and gross, and I can't stand it. So that's a bummer. If there was an option for me to have some sort of cannabis, whether it's an oil or a pill, or they say go ahead and prescribe the actual plant to me, and then I can consume that to alleviate my pain, help me relax, help me get through my physical therapy stuff, that would be way better for me. It's healthy. There's no major side effects other than that. And no addiction. I don't know why everybody thinks that pot is like the gateway drug to anything. The only thing it's a gateway to is better sex, better appetite, and a possible Cheetos addiction. Otherwise, that stuff doesn't happen. This is officially now the most commented on live video yet. Nice job, Jeremy. You did it single-handedly. Benjamin, if you haven't done it already, feel free to Facebook search Ghost Riot Radio, the page, hit like on there, and then follow me on there, because then I can see any comments that you may want to leave. If anybody has any questions, I'm now sort of just kind of trying to give everybody all the information I can as to how this new amendment may benefit you. Again, if you don't know whether or not you qualify for medical marijuana, you want to go to docmj.com. They're not paying me to say so. They're not sponsoring me or any of that stuff. It's just the way that I decided to get started, and I found that it was pretty simple. It's pain-free. You don't have to go anywhere. That you can do your assessment right from home. It makes things pretty easy, and it's fairly inexpensive as far as things are concerned. So docmj.com. If you want to read more about what just happened with this amendment, go to unitedforcare.org. Their website explains everything in legal jargon, but they try to break it down for you a little bit so you can see what's going on. Thanks, Haven. I appreciate it. So we're just talking about, if anybody else has any further questions, let me know. If it doesn't happen in another minute, we're going to go ahead and call it here. Folks, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. Hopefully you're as excited as I am about this, not because I'm a pothead, but because I believe in compassionate care for people who need it. It's just so silly we recognize now that the federal government is not allowing people to do, you can't even get studies done on the stuff yet. It doesn't mean it's not happening. It's just happening in smaller places. Universities and things like that are doing stuff, but we're not like the FDA is not doing any testing yet because it's a federally illegal product, which is sad. It's just sad. But what we're finding out on a smaller level is that things like cancer, seizures, eating disorders, and things like that are all being cured, or at least the symptoms are being dealt with by a plant that is not going to have any of those side effects that any of those giant pharmaceutical things can do to you. And that's a win in and of itself. So we are still talking about medical marijuana. If you are interested in finding out more, go to unitedforcare.org, which can explain, you can read up on that stuff and get all that figured out. And then if you want to know whether or not you qualify or possibly qualify to receive medical cannabis treatments, you can go to docmj.com and see if you qualify to possibly obtain your cannabis card, which is a pretty interesting thing in my opinion. All right, let's see. Saying the process was quick on the website. It is. It's super quick. It's definitely quick. And they'll get back to you within 24 hours usually. Although I would imagine that they're going to start to get super busy as of today. So if anybody asks how you found out, make sure you mention Ghost Riot Radio. I've been trying to get them to come, like, send me a representative to be on the show, which would be pretty awesome. So just mention it through your interview. Just be like, hey, by the way, Ghost Riot Radio. And then hopefully we can get them on here so they can explain a little bit more about how we can benefit from all of this stuff. It looks like we've kind of hit our ceiling here. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up now. Folks, if you're a Florida resident, congratulations. 70.9% is a major, major improvement from last year's votes. Congratulations to Florida for now being the first southern state to pass medical marijuana for the state. It's huge. God bless us all. Who knows what's going to happen with the rest of this election? Hopefully you're not freaking out right now. Hopefully you're with your loved ones. Again, compassionate care is what this whole thing was about. Being compassionate is the biggest thing we can do right now. I know there's a lot of crazy tension in the country right now. People are freaking out who you should vote for, who you shouldn't vote for, what's going on. Remember to take time to sit down with your loved ones and tell them you love them. Give everybody a hug. Somebody you don't love, hug them too. Just let people know that you still really care about them. It's not just like my opinion's better than yours and blah, blah, blah. It's not a good way to live. It's a terrible thing to do to people. So remember, compassionate care, that's all this Amendment 2 is about. It's all about being able to help people in need. We just did it. Congratulations, Florida. I'm super stoked. It makes me proud to be here right now, to be real honest. If there are no further questions, for those of you that joined me on Facebook, thank you so much. I appreciate you watching. Hopefully this helped distract you a little bit, but we'll see you soon. Don't forget, every Sunday on Ghost Riot Radio, I put up a post sometime in the early morning to let everybody know what time we are going live, doing a live recording. Make sure that if you haven't already, you go to facebook.com/Ghost Riot Radio and hit the like button, and I will make sure that I update you. Basically, we do this for every show, every Sunday, sometime around the middle of the afternoon. And if you want to be a part of the conversation just like we are right now, you can go ahead and do so. So go ahead and hit that like button. Follow me on Facebook. If you're on Instagram or Twitter, you can follow me at Ghost Riot Media, which is my production company. I would appreciate the follows there as well. If you're looking to listen to some of these podcasts, we've already put up 3. They're on iTunes and SoundCloud. If you want to subscribe, I'd appreciate it. And if you're an iTunes user, write a little review for me and let me know how things are going. Positive reviews will end up drawing more attention to iTunes, and they'll start putting me out in like the up and coming sections, which would be cool because then I could get some followers, and that would be really awesome. If you're a musician or a rapper or whatever, you're making music and you've got tracks and you want me to play them on an upcoming show, let me know. Send it to ghostriotradio@gmail.com or info@ghostriotradio.com. And I'll do my best to put you guys on the next show. Basically, all I need is 3 tracks in MP3 format with a bio and some contact information from you, and I'll put you on the show just like I did my man, Knowledge Austin. Thanks for letting me use you again tonight, dude. I'm just played a little track called Changes, so you'll hear it when you download this podcast on iTunes or SoundCloud. And I'm recording this every weekend now, including this episode, and we're going to do a little YouTube channel as well. So you can go to YouTube and search Ghost Riot Radio and then watch the actual podcast as well. I don't know how interesting it is, but it's just another way to get it out there. So, folks, thanks so much for everybody who was watching. I really appreciate it. Congratulations, Florida, for passing the Yes on 2. Really, really cool. Again, my name's Nick Noble. This is Ghost Riot Radio. Thanks so much for watching. We'll talk to you soon. Don't forget, make your presence known. Peace.